Alright boys, welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today we are hitting you with, I suppose, a different kind of style of video. It's going to be a bit more just raw, just me speaking to the channel, me speaking to ye, I suppose, on how I'm actually feeling. Like, we are 15 days, 16, 17 days after the photo shoot now. Yeah, today's what? Today's Wednesday, isn't it? Yeah, today's...
Oh, no, Tuesday.
Oh, today's Tuesday, so we're 16 days post photo shoot. What has been going on? How many calories have I ate? It's not looking good, Brev. But, you know, I'm going to talk to you about everything. I'm going to explain to you my plan for the foreseeable. And, yeah, just give you a bit more of an honest update of what it's actually like after the shoot. Because, honestly, I don't see anyone speak about it. And it's fucking tough, all right? It is hard mentally. Like, physically, it's fine. You feel fine. You feel a lot better because you have a bit more food going in. You know, you can have a bit more energy throughout the day. But mentally, it's probably the weirdest phase I've ever been in my life. I'm not gonna lie. It's such a weird phase to adjust to. And the main reason I'm making this video is because I don't really see many people make it. And, you know, if there's one, say, young lad who watches this who's done a really strict diet who might watch this and relate to this, or one young girl, whoever, or fucking a mommy or a daddy, whoever you are, if you watch this and you relate to this, then it's worthwhile putting out there, and, you know, and I hope it does help someone. So yeah, gonna be a bit more of a raw, honest update on where I'm actually at. I'm just gonna say it to you straight and what my plans are for the foreseeable. So sit back, enjoy. If you haven't already, please drop a like, and please subscribe, as it's the one way you can actually support me. I think we're like 97 subscribers away from 2K, so any support would be much appreciated. We're on the way for an hour-long walk because I have to drop my brother because he's going to run the marathon. I'm gonna drop him off now, and then I'll catch up with you in a bit. All right, guys, and we're now out on the walk. As you can see, got a fresh fade earlier, so feeling good. So yeah, just down a walk now. I have 12,000 steps to do today, so I need to get out for a walk, and the brother is doing very well with the athletics, or he's enjoying it a lot, and I know he wanted to go on a run tonight, so I decided I'd bring him out to the Greenway, and I just said I'd get a little walk in for myself. So for anyone who's not familiar with Waterford, the Greenway is just a really like long path that you can walk along. But anyways, right, I'm waffling. The reason you clicked into this video, I would assume, is probably to see how I've been getting on post photo shoot prep, and what the plan has been. So let me just dive straight into it, I suppose. I'm probably going to leave this raw, like unedited, and just me trying to kind of speak my mind, because that's what I've always wanted this channel to be, a way for me to express myself without feeling like there's people judging me, and, you know, a way for me to just be me, be Sam, be the guy who's just always wanted to just pick up the camera and just speak to the camera and speak himself. So how have I been getting on? So the photo shoot was Sunday 2 weeks ago. So like I said, about 16 days ago, and I had heard a lot of things about the post-shoot kind of prep phase, and or the post-photo shoot phase, and how it's a weird phase to be in, and I didn't actually realize, and I didn't really process that how weird it was going to be, I suppose. So I had heard that, you know, you'll have a weird relationship with food off some people, and that it might take a while to adjust to food, and, you know, it's just a weird phase to be in. And in all honesty, it has been weird. It has been weird adjusting to it. So I suppose after the shoot, I didn't really have like a binge day or anything like that. Like, you know, I had a meal out, as you would have probably seen, with my family, which was so nice, and I absolutely love that. And then, like, bar that, man, like, I had a few meals out, but nothing hectic. The weird part for me, like I was saying, has just been like the last minute plans. I think that's where I've been kind of struggling. So let's say the lads want to go for a last minute meal, or something pops up last minute. That's where I am struggling. And when I do go out for that meal, and I do feel a bit guilty, complete honesty, like, you know, I'm kind of eating the food and I'm like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be eating this. This kind of feels weird to me. This almost feels wrong in a sense. And that's where I am struggling. That's where things are kind of kicking my ass, and that's where I'm kind of like, well, why do I feel like this? Because when you've gone for so long, like, I don't think people fully understand. Like, I did the 18 weeks and I did not go off plan by like anything. I mean, I didn't have a cookie, and I'm not saying that to brag, I'm saying that to be truthful and to be honest with you, you know. So when you go from 18 weeks to not having bread, not having pasta, not having bagels or any of that, to then just being thrown into a phase where it's like, now you can have all this stuff, but you're not really supposed to have all this stuff, but you can, but you don't know if you're supposed to make it. It's weird. It's so weird, and it's something I don't see anyone speak about, because you see a lot of people, they get into the best shape of their life, they get in phenomenal nick, and then they just never speak about this phase. What I do want to get clear is, I don't think that, like, you know, I'm developing an eating disorder, or that, you know, I have a really bad relationship with food, because I don't. Okay, I don't. And I would say that on this channel. I've been completely transparent so far. There'd be no reason for me not to say that, you know what I mean? But I don't. And I don't want to make this out to be something it's not, okay? Because that's not what it is. It's just a weird phase for me, and it's a phase of, I suppose, readjustment. And that's what I'm saying to myself. And I suppose right now I'm kind of trying to be, I want to say, nice to myself as well, you know. Like that 18 weeks was the hardest thing I've ever done, by a mile. Like, no doubt it was the hardest thing. So when these events pop up and the lads are like, do you want to get a beer? Or do you want to go for that meal? I'm trying to just be like, yeah, I'll do that, you know, because the reality is, and I know one or two of my good friends might be watching this, I've been a pretty shit friend for the last 5 months. I have, you know, and I'm so glad I didn't have a girlfriend throughout this process, all right, because I would have been the shittest boyfriend ever. I don't know how people do like bodybuilding preps in a relationship, because I would have been a fucking terrible boyfriend. Like, you know, so even when the lads are like, oh, do you want to just go hang out for a day? I'm like, yeah, let's do it, you know. So it's things like that that kind of catch me off guard, but that I am learning to readjust to. And as the days go on, I know I'm getting better with it. Because even, like, say tonight, right, there was no chicken in the house, so I had to, like, readjust my meals and macro match, like, mince. And, like, on prep, that would not have been the case. I literally would have drove to the shop. I would have drove as far as I needed to get chicken. Whereas now, it's kind of like, oh, do you know, I can just make this work. So that's the weird things. They're the things that are kind of tough to adjust to. Now, let's talk about snacking. And this was something that I was debating speaking about, but like I said, I've always kept it honest, and I want to keep it honest on this page. Yes, I have been stacking, and yes, it's something that I am trying to kind of adjust to, you know. Knowing that, you know, if I want a cookie now, I can actually have one is weird. It's a weird thing. And the day after the photo shoot, I did a bit of snacking, but honestly, not much. Like, I saw a lot of people do these kind of post-shoot and post-show cheat days. Like, I didn't do one of those. So, you know, and I'm proud of myself for not doing one of those, because I think that's just unnecessary in my mind. Now, you know, obviously each their own, but I do think that is a bit unnecessary. But what I'm kind of struggling with, I suppose, is if, you know, the parents are having like a cup of tea and a digestive, I'm like, oh, well, I can actually join them now and do that. And that is still a bit of a weird thing to adjust to. Or, you know, if there is some biscuits in the press, I'm like, oh, I can actually just have these now. And that's something I am struggling with. Now, I'm not binging or anything like that, you know, and like I said, if I was, I'd just say it. I'm not ashamed to kind of say those kind of things. I'd tell you if I was binging. I'm not, all right? But what I am doing is maybe having 3 or 4 as the day goes on, you know, and that's something that I'm kind of learning to readjust to. And I think I am getting better at that. I think I'm getting better at kind of being like, right, Sam, you know, this isn't something to do with the photo shoot prep. This is just you know, you will learn that, you know, you don't need to have these biscuits. Like, you are full, you are satiated, you know. So that's something I'm getting better at, you know, because as the days went on after the shoot, I was kind of worried, because I was like, oh, you know, all right, okay, I probably shouldn't be having this squares bar and this biscuit, you know. So then I was like, right, okay, I'll just tone it back a bit. And as the days go on, you know, I am definitely toning it back. And, you know, I'm proud of myself for getting better with that, you know. So it's such a weird phase, man, and I don't really want to just waffle on this whole video, but I'm trying to go into depth about it as well, because, you know, even if one person relates to one thing that I am saying, it's worthwhile posting, you know what I mean? And it's tough as well, because you go to bed and you're like, I'm full, but I know I could be fuller. Does that make sense? Or like, I'm satisfied, but I know I could be more satisfied. I know I could be, you know, I know I could eat nicer food, you know. So that's something that I'm struggling with as well. And that's probably the next topic I should talk to. It's the satisfaction after your meals. It's like, when I was in prep, I was happy with being satisfied, you know, because I was like, right, this is only a phase. It's only going to go on for 18 weeks, whatever, you know. So I was fine being satisfied after a meal. Whereas now it's like, you kind of want a bit more than satisfaction, you know. And that's just something you crave, because when you go from like eating your rice, potatoes every day when you're on prep, to when after prep you have that pizza or have that burger, you realize how good food actually tastes. It isn't just rice and potatoes, you know, which is good. That's a good thing. That's a normal thing to do. But as well, come the end of the night, you're like, oh, well, why am I not feeling this beyond satisfaction feeling? And that's something I'm struggling with as well, you know, understanding that it's normal to just be okay with being satisfied. But, you know, when you go from 18 weeks of just like, you know, you were okay being satisfied to then after prep you get all this like dopamine from these extra foods, you crave that, you know, and you want that every day. But you have to teach yourself that, you know, you can't have that every day, because if I have that every day I'll just get fat, you know, and that's just the truth. If I just have a packet of biscuits, which I would love to do, I'd love to have a packet of biscuits before bed every night. If I just constantly do that, I will just get fat, and that's just the truth, you know, and that's just me being blunt and honest. I don't want to do that, and honestly, it's something I'd love to do. Like, I mean, every night I'd be like, oh, I'd love to just have that packet of biscuits. But that's where the self-discipline comes in. That's where it's like, right, okay, I could have that, but is future Sam going to thank me for doing that? No, he's not. And I hear so many people as well after prep be like, look, just stick to the post-prep plan, stick to the plan, because your future self will thank you. And I think future Sam is going to thank me for not having, like, nailing a whole packet of biscuits now. Am I having a few? Yeah, some nights I am. Most nights, to be honest, I am having a few biscuits, you know, whether it's 3, 4, I am. Honestly, I'll just say it how it is. But I am getting better with it. I am getting better, and it's becoming less and less of a problem as the weeks go on. So look, that's just kind of like a brief outline of where I'm at. It's such a weird phase. It's a really unexpected phase, and I didn't actually expect it to be as hard as it is. And I think the main reason it's so hard is because you go from this constant strict, no missing, to being allowed to miss, I suppose, and being allowed a bit more variety. And it's learning to where to draw that line. That's what I'm trying to say. It's learning. The post-prep phase is learning to where to draw that line, where to be like, right, okay, look, you're allowed to have this, but like, you know, this is right. Okay, Sam, you're taking a piss here. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm learning. And that's something that's going to be so individual for everyone. You know what I mean? Like, for me, I want to do well in my post-prep phase, so that, you know, I don't just get fat, and then I can look good after my post-prep. But if you're someone who just wanted to do a photo shoot and you're all right with letting your reins down, then, you know, fine. Is it going to be beneficial? Probably not. And the last thing I wanted as well is to develop a bad relationship with food. You know, I didn't want to come out of this photo shoot prep and be like, oh my God, I can't stop binging. And I feel like I'm at a stage now to where I kind of know that won't be the case, which is reassuring in a sense, because that was something I was worried about, you know, but now I know I'm at a stage to where that won't be the case, you know, which is nice, which is reassuring, you know. Now, as for food and kind of like the vague plan of action after the shoot, I suppose, what the original idea was to kind of stick to the exact meal plan. But honestly, what I learned was that macros have kind of been suiting me more. Now, in all honesty, I'm basically nailing the meal plan. Like, that's basically what I've been doing. Like, let's say yesterday, like I had my oats, I trained, I had my Cocoa Pops post-workout, and then instead of like chicken and rice, I had pasta and mince. And then I'm basically sticking onto the meal plan, and it was the exact same today. Like, I literally had my oats, had my Cocoa Pops, and then instead of chicken and rice, I just had pasta and mince, because I'm loving mince right now. And then most days I'm basically nailing the meal plan, but it's a case of, you know, if I want to swap that chicken and rice meal out, like I said, sometimes I'll have meatballs and pasta, or, you know, sometimes I might have chicken and potatoes or something like that. So it is pretty much the meal plan, but just allowing for a bit more variety when I want to, you know. Like, even tonight, I know that we've ran out of raw chicken breast, so I'm gonna have to use cooked chicken breast. So what I'm thinking I'm gonna do is make like a bagel with a bacon medallion and some chicken, and have that instead of my chicken and rice meal, you know. And it's little adjustments like that I am allowing for, because I think if I was to just stick on that meal plan, honestly, I think I'd just be snacking more, and I think I'd probably end up just having like more cookies and stuff, because this variety in the meal plan allows me to kind of mix up my taste buds. As stupid as that sounds, it just allows me to have a bit more enjoyment in the meal plan. So that's one thing I'm really finding helpful, is like actually allowing for more variety in the meal plan. As for calories and macros, which I know people will be wondering about, so the original push-up from the photo shoot was my calories kind of like coming into the shoot were very low. Like, we're talking 1700 I think was the lowest they went, so they were quite low, you know, coming into the shoot. Then obviously we had peak week, which they would have been brought back up, so probably about 2500. And now after the shoot, so the first week after the shoot, they got brought up to 2500 and 2300 on my training and rest days. Now, once again, the guideline was, it was pretty much just the meal plan, then allowing for like the few meals off I had outside of the shoot, so after the shoot. So I had a few off-plan meals, whether it was with the lads or, you know, with my parents. I think probably had like 4 or 5 maybe, and then I went to Edinburgh, which I probably had like 2 or 3 out there, and then a few beers. So you know, the guideline was 2,500, 2,300, which I didn't do a bad job at. And then after that, so the most recent adjustment I just got in off Keen was my food got bumped up to 2,700 and 2,500, in and around that kind of ballpark. Once again, going off mainly the meal plan, and then my steps are still at 12,000. So they were originally at 14,000 on prep. They got dropped to 12,000, but honestly, like, I want them up at 12,000. Like, doing steps is something I really enjoy. So steps are up at 12,000, and then my cardio was at, I want to say, like 30 minutes every day. Then it got reduced to 30 minutes 5 days a week, and then 20 minutes on my rest days, and now it's gotten dropped a good bit. I think now it might only be like 30 minutes 4 times a week, in and around that kind of ballpark. I actually haven't checked what the adjustment is for this week, but I know I'll take it off because I'm definitely going to go on probably 2 runs this week, and then I'll do a Stairmaster session. So I'll just check what it is, but it's probably about 30 minutes 4 days a week right now. So right now the current setup is 2,700 calories on training days, 2,500 on rest days, about 30 minutes of cardio 4, maybe 5 days a week, and then 12,000 steps. So that's my setup right now, and then obviously that's going mainly off the meal plan, but allowing for a bit of variety in my meals if I want it. Now let's talk about my plans for kind of after the photo shoot. I'll round that video off with this, I suppose. What are my plans? Honestly, I'll just say this off the top of my head because that's the truth. Honestly, I don't really know, and that's me being completely honest, and I know that's probably the answer that maybe you don't want to hear, but I think I need some time to actually think about what I want to do. And I know that the chances are, like, realistically, right, I want to be someone who can walk around and just look good. That's the truth. You know, I want to get to a beach, take my t-shirt off, know that I have abs and know that I have a bicep vein. That's realistically, that's what I want, you know. That's the stage I want to be at. Now, am I at that stage right now? I'm probably not far off, right? You know, like, I still have like decent abs, and I have a bicep vein, you know, which is pretty cool, but I'm also 70 kg, you know, so I'm not the most muscular guy. So in all honesty, I think I would like a bit more muscle, and in order to get more muscle, I'd probably have to do another gaining phase, right? Let's just be realistic. That's what I'd have to do. Now, would it have to be as much of a commitment as my last one? Probably not. But what I am thinking is, I think I'd like to slowly, not like an idiot, progress maybe up to about 80 kg. So I'm 71 now, 72 now. I think if we got to a nice 80, a nice, you know, comfortable 80, good bit of muscle, not fat, and then got lean again and maybe called it at 75, I think I'd be quite happy at that. Now, I might have to push to 85. I really don't know. Now, as for what I'm planning to do with my coach, which is probably the next thing one or two of you might be wondering about, all honesty, I don't know. Cian has been an absolute gent. He's been really helpful. Yes, I am still with him, by the way, at this moment in time. But I honestly don't know what I'm going to do. And the main reason for that is nothing to do with Cian. You know, he's been phenomenal. It's to do with me. I don't really know what path I want to go down. I think that's what I want to do, but like I said, I'm honestly not sure. And I don't want to stay being coached by Cian if I'm not sure on what I actually want to do. Does that make sense? Because that would just be a waste of time for both of us, right? Because number one, he'd be coaching someone who doesn't really know what to do. And number two, I'd kind of be questioning whether it's what I want to do, right? So I honestly don't know what I'm going to do, man. I think mentally that would be the next phase for me, is to maybe get up to 80, 85 kg. But then another hand of me is kind of like, well, I've always wanted to kind of enter this kind of phase of like doing the marathons and, you know, training for like an Ironman and stuff like that. And I know that's such a big commitment, but it's something I would love to do. I'd love to do it. And I think it'd be really cool for the channel. But then also in another sense, I'm like, well, do I have enough muscle to do that? I don't know. There's just a lot of thoughts going through my head. All right. And honestly, if anyone wants to give me advice, please feel free. All right. Message me on Instagram, because I'd actually appreciate that, you know. Well, not that I'd appreciate it, but if you think you could be helpful towards my mentality towards it, or if you think you could say something that might help me out, please do not be afraid to shoot me a message, because I'd appreciate it, or drop a comment, or, you know, reach out in some way, shape or form. So yeah, I think that's where I should probably round this video off here. I feel like I've kind of covered most things, you know, what my plans are, how I've been dealing with after the photo shoot. If anyone is struggling, don't be afraid to reach out, because I know how hard it can be after the shoot. I really do. And, you know, even like I said, if you want to give me your 2 cents on maybe what I should do after my shoot, please let me know, okay? Because I'm open to hearing it, and I want to know know from you as well. All right, so thank you so much for clicking into this video. I hope it wasn't too boring, and if it helped you get through a cardio session or a meal, please hit the subscribe button. As like I said, that's literally the only way you can help me out, and the goal is to hit 2K subscribers. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will catch you all in the next video.